Just two siblings chilling on the couch.
Oh, yes. My Hollywood sister.
Hello, and welcome to Acting Like an Actor. I'm your host, Sophie Jordan Collins, and today I'm joined by actor-turned-director Ian S Peterson. You can catch Ian in films such as The Secret Society of Lies, Yellow's Foghorn, The Principal, and Murder Camp. You can also spot Ian on a little television platform called Adult Swim. Most recently, Ian starred on and directed a pilot called Residential. We talk about Ian's decision to drop out of college to pursue acting, how he started working behind the camera, and his advice on how to start creating your own content as an actor. Please welcome to the show, Ian S Peterson.
Are you rich?
Are you famous?
What have you been on?
I don't really recognize you, and neither does my mom.
Can you laugh?
Can you cry on command?
I mean, you said you were an actor, man.
What's your backup plan? Is it shattered?
Dude, I'm just acting like an actor.
Hello, Ian.
Sophie, thanks for having me.
Yes, so good to have you
You're
here.
like one of the first main characters in my life when I started working.
It's true. We met on a set a long time ago.
I don't even know which set.
Actually, we met on a video game set in person, but we were supposed to work on a film together prior to that. That fell
very
through.
true. Very true.
Like a long time ago.
I totally forgot about that. Wow.
Yeah. I also just feel like, too, we have a lot of mutuals in this business.
Constantly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's one of those people, too, if you're an LA actor or you're in this business at all working, you either know Ian, I feel like, or you know somebody who knows Ian. Every time I'm on set and we're, like, going through following, they're like, oh, my God, you know Ian? I'm like, yeah. And, of course, you know Ian, too, because he's everywhere.
Trying to be.
But yeah, so Ian, do you want to kind of give everybody the lowdown on like where you're at in terms of acting?
What's my story?
Exactly,
Oh,
you know
man.
the thing. Let's go back.
I'm from the Bay. I'm from the Bay Area. I was a theater kid. I did my first play. I was a Munchkin in Wizard of Oz as soon as I could be. I was like 7 in a children's theater, and then I dabbled with a lot of stuff. I was a big AV kid. Like I was super into like making my own like little dumb videos. Super like take the parents' camcorder type guy. And then when the college decision stuff was rolling around, you know, I'm from the Bay Area, and in fact, all of my friends were STEM guys, comp-sci, and they were getting into Ivy League schools. It was very much that vibe. And, you know, I was looking around, and it was fairly obvious that I was like, look, I'm going to do the acting thing, because if I don't do it now, I'll regret it. It's the thing I've been doing the most, and I don't know why. I felt good about it. So I did the whole unified thing, auditioning for schools, and then I went to CalArts, was in the BFA program there, was amazing until COVID hit, and because of that circumstance, I dropped out and moved back with my parents. Then after a while of that, in September of 2020, I moved to LA to try just working and seeing how that went. And I didn't go back to school. I was loving it too much. I came from CalArts as a theater program, and so 2020 is really when I started like figuring out the film thing, even though I had known like the whole time I wanted to do that. But I just really dove in and was just obsessed about it, and you know, getting into all of it. And then pretty soon after that, I think 6 months in maybe, was that video game commercial we met on, and yeah, that's kind of it.
Things started picking up.
Yeah. Oh, and then I guess I should mention, when I dropped out of school, my parents were worried. They've been very supportive, but they were like, you're gonna sit in your room and play video games. Like, it's COVID. What's going on? So, I dropped out of school, and I bought a camera, which at the time was like risky financial decision, but you know, I was like, I'm gonna make a short film or sketch every week for a year while auditioning and having a day job. And I did that. I made like 54 like really short films, but that's kind of what started jutting me towards DPing and gaffing and G&E side, because you know, I was making these and I was like, why do they look like you know?
Yeah.
And then I started getting on set and seeing what lighting was happening, and I was like, oh, okay, like maybe I'm interested in this too. And then I ended up being really interested in it. So so that's kind of how that came about. But yeah.
So your first love was in front of the camera, which kind of
For
led
sure.
to the behind the camera.
Yeah. I mean, the way I put it is acting is the most important thing to me.
Okay.
But I love shooting and I love acting. And I personally, I don't know if I'd have the mental stamina to just have one. You know, same with directing. I like filmmaking is like my whole life, but I love that I can pivot because there are days where I just do not want to touch a light or look at a C-stand. And then, you know, the rejection at some point with the acting thing, it gets to you, and having a way to be creative on set in another medium and also really bird's eye and look at actors and see other people and get inspired, or, you know, you can get inspired in two different ways of like, oh, I can, you know, do something different than this, or like, oh my God, that was amazing, and I would have never gotten to see it if I wasn't, you know, lighting this guy's face. So it's a really good way to kind of stay on set, and I don't know, I've enjoyed it. Been a full-time filmmaker, quote unquote, for like a year and a half now, I think, is when I still kind of keep the day job, but you know, I was able to kind of just do 12-hour days constantly.
How did you start booking jobs in the crew world? How did that work? So you realized you're
That's
like,
a great
okay, I
question.
kind of want to start doing stuff behind the camera.
Wow.
And if there are any actors who want to start doing that out there, what would you recommend?
I mean, the main thing was, I started doing those videos. I mean, literally every week for a year. I like gave myself Friday night deadline. You know, I had like maybe 50 subscribers on YouTube, but like to me it was very important that I was meeting that. And it was like a muscle. It was, you know, because I had to write them. I had like a 10-foot HDMI cord to, you know, frame myself, and it was just me for a lot of them. And, you know, so that kind of gave me a body of work and an understanding of that. And then eventually, like, some of my other actor friends who were in those videos were like, oh, can you shoot this thing for me? And then I'd meet people and talk to them about lighting, and they're like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. And then a month later, you get an Instagram DM. But, you know what's funny? We were talking about Backstage, but there was one crew job I booked on Backstage, and that was the only time I had, like, specifically sought out. Like, I think I was just sitting at home for, like, I didn't have anything coming up, so I was also looking on crew side. But really, it's been relationships and talking to people, and pitching yourself, and you know, I'm very lucky. One of the first feature I was the gaffer on was so lucky because my roommate was a sound guy. Also, live with film people is the other hack. And he couldn't make a day because he had a better paying gig, and he gave me his other kit and was like, go do sound, you'll make $400. And I was like, great. And then while I was there, like, it was a really low budget thing. They were only paying for sound, and I started helping them with lighting. And then, you know, a year later, that guy shoots a feature, and he brings me on as the gaffer because I helped him with lighting. So it was just like, and if I didn't have that experience and get to play with, you know, at that level, I don't know if it would have, you know, everything's like, it's a weird path, you know. It's like,
one thing leads to another out
for
here.
sure.
And that's always what I tell people about LA, is that it's like, that's the beauty of being here. Yes, you can be an actor in any market, but when you're in LA, the opportunities that you have in every field of the film industry is just so crazy.
And everyone's doing this. It's like, I mean, that's what I love about it. I love how, I mean, we're in this like beautiful bubble of creatives. I don't know. Some people are like, I want to get away from it, but at least right now I love being underwater with it. It's amazing.
Yeah. I also want to touch on, too, something funny is those video game commercials Ian and I met on. He ended up doing a swapsies, and you gaffed on one of those video game commercials,
I did.
too. So that goes to show you how being, you know, an actor and, like, kind of pitching yourself in all mediums can also lead to more work, again, both in front of and behind
shout out Eli if you're somehow watching this, the DP on those. He's awesome. And that was so nice of him. He like, you know, he was like, do you want to, because I record on that. We both record on those so many times that you get to know these people, and sometimes you're having lunch with them, and then, you know, it was the same thing. Instagram DM. Hey, do you want to, like, I need a person on this day. It was so fun.
I feel like being a crew member can be a good way to make money as an actor, especially if you don't want to do the whole, like, serving job thing, which we all know can get very taxing, but when you're crew, you're still on set, you're meeting people, you're making good money, so that can be another just like side hustle.
It's a hack. Half of the grips are trying to produce something too, you know?
Yeah.
You never know who you're talking to. And it's just the best. Yeah. I really, if there is another department and you're an actor and you're interested, at least in my experience, it's been very rewarding.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, we were talking earlier about like the whole pigeonholing thing. I think, at least in my experience, it's been a branding tool. Like, people remember, oh, that's the actor that also does lighting. That's the actor that shoots, you know?
Okay, so you don't feel like you get pigeonholed
No,
as Ian's
well,
only an actor or Ian's only a gaffer. You think people know of you as all of them. Because I think that's something actors are scared of, is getting pigeonholed into.
Yeah, and I'm having
else.
like, you know, I'm still having identity crises about it. Like, what do I want to do? Like, you know, because I took the strikes to be like, okay, I'm going to shoot more. If, you know, let's kind of, you know, I haven't done that well at it because non-union and I need, you know, got to eat. But, you know, and of course stuff that isn't being struck. But I am doing a lot of below the line, behind the camera stuff right now. Yeah. And I really miss acting. But I think that's why I'm very aggressive about making my own stuff and auditioning. And yeah, I think that I've been able to avoid it. And that's the other reason I was making my own stuff is when I first started auditioning, the types of roles I was getting called in for, like, oh my God, it was just like these just deplorable frat guys, you know? Okay. I mean, and we can skip the typecasting thing, because look, I mean, I love playing every role. You know, we're out here defense lawyers for our characters. But I was like, I can do comedy, I can do this other stuff, and if no one's going to see me in that, like, I'm going to make it just so they can, you know, because to me that's what auditioning and your reel and everything is, just like, you know, do the imagination for them, like, show them, you know, just be like, don't let them be like, well, because especially on our project, Residential, being on the other side of the table, you really do realize, like, you've got to go so fast through these things that, you know, you try to be as imaginative as possible, but you're just looking for the character to jump at you, you know, instead of saying, oh, well, you know, if I had 2 hours with them, I'm sure I could get them there. You're looking for it to come at you. And so I think I subconsciously realized that, or just, I maybe just was like, I want to do comedy and do other stuff instead of, you know, playing the frat guy and the bully.
Yeah. So what Ian's talking about is Residential's the pilot he just directed and starred in.
Yes.
And you were saying in terms of directing, you want the actor to just come at you with a strong persona. Is that what you're saying? As opposed to being like, okay, I can work with them for 2 hours and bring.
Yeah, I mean, we worked with a casting director, and we had we did it like a TV pilot where the writer was the showrunner. I didn't write it, and so casting. I had another director I worked with, Dylan Cox. We had input, but casting wasn't our say. Okay. And, you know, we did an Actors Access union call, and we had like 500 people for each role. I didn't get to see all the submissions. Our casting director decided who to call in, but still, I think we watched like probably around 80 to 100 tapes for some of the bigger roles. And at that point, you know, I was adamant as an actor about watching all the tapes, no matter what. Like, we were gonna watch all the tapes. We didn't watch all of them,
right?
Because you can't. But more than a gander, because I was interested. Okay, I mean, you never see, like, have you cast anything?
I have. Mm-hmm.
Isn't it like
it? Yeah,
it's mind blowing.
It is, and you learn so much on the other side.
Everyone says this.
You learn so much on the other side.
I don't know if actors need to do it, but it is mind blowing. If you hear enough people talk about it, you know. I think the more you do this job, you kind of get a sense of what works. I mean, that Bryan Cranston quote about auditioning gets repeated to oblivion about, like, you know, you're not there to get a job, you're doing the job in the room. And that's, I mean, once you get all your power back, once you really flip that mindset. The other thing that lately I've been talking about with friends is, like, the idea that an audition is like a pitch. Like, go in and, like, pitch it, like showing them that you have ideas about the role instead of just trying to do it. Like show like, no, I come in with ideas. Like you might not like this, but that's the whole like make a choice thing. But you know, like in other realms and other departments, you're constantly pitching things. Whether on set you're pitching, you know, art department saying, "Can I put this plant here?" And with us, it's like in the audition, you need to be, you know, showing that like I can bring. I'm not just gonna read the words. I can, you know, really build this.
Yeah, this is my take on this character, and if you cast me, this is how I'll come to the role.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's
Have you ever had an audition that you liked more than what you got to do on the day? Because this has happened a couple times where I go crazy in the audition, and then they clearly like, and then and not even like pull you back, like sometimes because I'm a big like props person or you know, I'll like come in with a really, and they'll cast me and be like, okay, but now just do, you know, and not like it's overacting or anything, but they just what I thought was unique about it gets, you know, and maybe that says more about me, but I don't know. Have you experienced that? Happens on commercials a fair bit.
I think I have had them pull me back. Yes, because I'll do, you probably do this too, but in commercial tapes, I be getting real fucking weird. Like, I'll cartwheel into my sleigh. I'll be doing, like, random things, props. You gotta do stuff to stand out, because there are just so many actors in LA that it's like, you gotta do something kind of funky, I feel like, in order to stand out. But I know it's true. Where I'll be, like, really weird in my tape, and then I get to set, and they just kind of want it.
Yeah, it's
a little neutral,
and I was like, I was like, you looked at so many people. It must have been this, like, silly Joe improv line I added that got me the job, and they're like, no, don't do that. Please don't do that. And it's like, okay. So, you know, I guess, you know, make risks even if you think they might not want it. But yeah, and sometimes I'm like, I should get a bump because they take the improv line, you know?
Yes, I know, true.
And they like, there was one thing I did where I improv something and they wrote it into the treatment when I was like, what?
As long as they cast you for it, because if they be taking your line,
oh my God.
they could do
I'm
that
sure
to
that's
people.
happened.
I'm sure.
You know what's funny is when we were casting residential, there were a bunch of people that like, and it's such a bummer because on the other side, like, look is such an important thing. And there's so many people. Dylan and I, the other director, loved this girl for one of the roles. We were obsessed, but the showrunner was like, not the right look, not the right look. We loved her. And there was a part in her tape where we were like, okay, well, if we don't cast her, we're stealing that. We totally forgot about it, but like, I'm sure that must happen. You know?
Oh, absolutely.
But when you get the right person, I'm sure that goes away. You know, because if you're casting someone, hopefully that they check all the boxes. Right. Hopefully. I feel like scheduling's that's the hardest one. That one's always the one that hurts, you know?
Yeah. It is. And I know that will even happen where it's like you'll have like a couple days with no work and then all of a sudden it's like 3 gigs in one day.
Everyone like it's been silent and then everyone wants like the 28th.
No, exactly. Like, I know.
Why?
The 26th, the 27th, and the 28th. Okay, I want to talk to you a little bit about your reel because it's funny you say that you were getting cast as a jock a lot because I did notice in your reel you do have some like jockey material, but you also have very diverse things, I thought, in your reel. Oh. He has everything in his reel from, like, being a stripping Santa to being a clown to just, like, crying to his mom on the phone to being, like, a creepy, like, manager or something. So I feel like your reel is, not only is it so diverse, but it shows a wide range of ages. So I'm curious, were those projects stuff that you actually booked? Is that stuff from when you were doing all of your, like, shorts that year?
A lot of my, well, not anymore, but there might still be I hope not, there might be a self-tape in there. One, my reels are too long. Please don't Google them. It's the real thing is
they're good though, but they are long. Yeah, they passed the 2-minute mark that casting directors say.
Yeah, and I use clips on a lot of websites. They just kind of I need to re-edit them. I have a friend that just did theirs, and it's like, whoa, it's so snappy and cool, and it inspired me. But at the same time, it's like, I'll answer your question, but uploading reels, I don't know about you, and changing your resume, nightmare. Oh, you have to do it in like 15 different places. YouTube, IMDb Pro, Actors Access, Backstage, and Actors Access makes you pay. Casting networks, Casting Frontier.
And the minute you do it, you get another credit that you're proud of and you want to add. So
Yeah.
it's like the minute I update it all, it's like I'll book something really cool that week, comes out a month later, and I want to update it again. So I'm like, at this point, I might as well just do it once a year and keep all that old stuff, because it is such a hassle.
It's such a hassle, and it's like, my manager actually, I always ask him every time I update it, what should I cut?
Yeah.
And he's like, I mean, none of this is like egregiously bad. Thanks, Carrie. And he's like, they're gonna skip around anyway, so just give them a lot of stuff to skip between. I think that's been the thinking, and like there is a little bit of it's not broke, I guess. You know,
right? Yeah.
Like I joined acting classes, and I changed my reel up and my materials whenever it gets slow.
Okay.
That's like when I start panicking, is like I start getting into acting classes, but luckily
I'll keep that in mind if I ever see Ian in acting class or something. Oh, homeboy's going through it right now.
It's true. You know, sometimes you need to go back to the dojo. And same with if you subscribe on YouTube and see the reels go up, you know that it's slow. So yeah, but to answer your question, a lot of the comedy reel is self-shot. A lot of that is like stuff from the sketches that I made or little clips. Some of the like sizzle, which I know is a faux pas, but some of that in the drama reel is self-shot, but it's a mix. Like some of the clips I really like are just things that my friends and I wrote, and it's stuck in there because I'm still waiting on a bunch of stuff, or like it does the job, you know. The age diversity thing is really interesting because I've been surprised by that a lot.
Maybe I played a young mom in a commercial. Guess how old my daughter was? 7. I'm 21. The math isn't mathing. I was like 14.
Wow.
But that's fine because, you know, in certain clothing, in certain makeup, I can look like 30 or whatever. But then it's funny because I'll also I was at an audition and they were like, how old are you? Like they thought I was under 18. I wasn't wearing any makeup, and they literally thought that I was like younger at an in-person audition. I'm like, isn't it funny?
That's
how,
awesome.
Like, the way you carry yourself and your persona can sometimes
I ask people how old they think I am
interesting.
constantly, and I always get a number older than I am.
Okay. Me
Which
too,
is
usually.
a bummer.
Well, I think it's the way you carry yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
You wouldn't want people to be like 16. Like
That'd be great.
I know.
That'd be
I know.
great.
If the CW is talking, I think 16. But anybody else.
Yeah, exactly. Because you know I can play the older people when I'm older.
Right.
It is.
That's true.
Did you grow up doing theater?
I did.
Okay,
Mostly
'cause-
straight shows. I could never
Sure,
sing, but
there's something that I think is interesting is when you're doing high school theater, you're like always playing adults. And that's where all your practice is. I don't know any shows I did in high school other than Bye Bye Birdie off the top of my head where I was playing someone under like 20.
Yeah.
You know? Isn't that strange?
Which is funny.
And that's like your first like kind of training ground. So I think, you know, I definitely find when I have to, cuz I do play high school still a little bit, and it's always like, what type of kid is this? And I find myself trying to watch child actors a lot. And fun fact, I was oh god, what show was it? The actor must have been like 8 or I wish I could what show was it? It was something on Max, on Max.
Good save.
But they had this like 10-year-old, and he just every time he had an entrance, he looked at the mark on the floor. It was just interesting.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll have to get the title of that show.
Yeah, I'll remember in a second. But it was very
notes.
funny to see that.
That's funny.
I have a friend. This is off in the weeds, but I have a friend who works in QC, which is quality control, and they're the final editor that you know will do they were this person that was supposed to hide the coffee cup in Game of Thrones, but apparently whenever you have an infant on screen, usually they redo the eyes because babies are like just looking around constantly.
I didn't know that.
And that's
that makes sense though.
Yeah, that's anytime you see a baby on TV, usually the eyes are redone because they're just looking at
that totally makes sense.
all the
though,
frames and stuff. Yeah, I was like, whoa. Anyway,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, my reel has some student films. Some is probably understand. No, I can't remember what's on there now, but yeah, it's but a lot of it is stuff that I just made with a long HDMI cord, and some of it is clips from stuff I'm pretty proud of that was a little bit bigger. Some of the coolest projects I've done though are just waiting.
Yeah.
waiting.
No, I'm sure. That's always
Waiting
a game
forever.
business, yeah.
You know, on both sides of the camera, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, you're just waiting. Maybe I'll get to see it.
I know, it really is one of those things. I know, I feel like just now, like some of the stuff I did like 2 years ago that I was so hype about, like features I did when I was like 19 are just now coming out and I'm watching them like, I've gotten better since then.
Yeah,
I'm not watching it anymore now.
Are
but-
you good at watching yourself?
It doesn't bother me usually, to be quite honest.
Yeah, a problem I have is like I really should go to festivals because it's like good for you. I
Yes.
always chicken out
Because you don't like to watch yourself.
because the idea of especially if I have a bigger role in it, like Murder Camp, which everyone should go see. I'm in the beginning and the end, and that's not a spoiler. I can say that.
Okay.
And also the leads in that, who were also the writers and the director, like
It's short, right?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
so good. I'm so proud of it. Please, Murder Camp's like my Clara and the whole team. Like
We'll put
it's
it in
one
the
of
show notes.
it's
when
one
it
of my
comes out.
it's one of my favorite things I've ever done. But that one, it's just so good that I felt like I was in good hands and I could go to it. And not that I don't feel that way about other stuff, but especially when I have a lead or something, I just like I don't know. It's a really hard experience for me.
Okay.
Which is weird because when I do my own stuff and when I was doing the sketches,
You don't mind watching them.
it wasn't a big deal. I was like, that's a different person,
Maybe
like
it's more pressure if it's somebody else's.
Yeah,
so you feel
that's-
like you're maybe letting others down or something.
yeah, and it's also the idea of like walking out of the theater and like having to like look at like everyone just be
just
like,
watched you.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting because I
You gotta
get
get used to that, Ian, with the base
Yeah,
stuff you're gonna be
I
doing. People are
know.
gonna be watching.
but it's interesting that there's a real big I've been asking a lot of actors this lately. I was just on set with this guy Michael Manning, who like he's been in some big shows. He has an Emmy. But hi Mike. But I asked him the same question and his response was very similar to yours. Of like, yeah, I like it, like I mean like I don't want to like look up my nose constantly, but like
Right.
like and
I don't mind
I don't
it.
know. Yeah. I think that's really healthy. Because, I mean, sometimes I'll be like, I'll text a link to my parents and be like, pick the real clip,
Yeah.
'Cause I just can't, and maybe it'd be better if I didn't do that.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It is interesting. I do want to circle back though. So, do you think it's worth it if there are actors out there who are maybe newer and don't have a lot of footage under their belt? Do you think it's worth it to do what you did and get together with some friends and shoot content? Do you feel like work has come because
Well, with
of
the
some of
C
your
word.
self-shot stuff?
Make it hard. No. But yes, in my opinion, I mean, I'm not that I'm not, I depending on what your definition of success is, but in my opinion, it was the best choice I ever made. I mean, because it seems like
Creating art with your
yes,
hands.
yeah, and all roads lead back to that project.
Yeah.
And I learned so much. And even just as an actor, you have to be, look, if your parents aren't somebody and you didn't start doing this when you were 6, you're kind of so you got like the actors that are like, I just want to act, you're gonna get left. You gotta really know what you're doing. And the other like nightmare is, even if you're so good, you're so present, if you make a continuity error and the director and producer are sitting in that editing bay and they're like, no, we have a different take, and the editor's like, I can't use it because he's sipping the cup, and they're like, they're gonna be like, we can't that guy sucks, That's a real item. Maybe I just have that nightmare, but I am like worried about people talking about me in the edit.
No.
And like, you need to know what the other departments are doing. You need to know that, if art department is setting a chair for lighting and stuff and you're getting out of that, or the lens is this close and you're making the focus puller's life hell. I feel like, and I have so much more awareness about that because I had to like facepalm editing myself and being like, why did I do that?
Right.
And I think it really forces you to be holistic in your approach if you're doing film, because it's a collaboration and so many other people are doing so many other things, and you want to not be the actor,
That's true. Yep. That's a really, really good point for you actors out there, is to try to learn. Even if you are just going to act, at least take the initiative to kind of learn what some of the other departments are. Like, it blows my mind if somebody says the term gaffer on set and somebody's like, what? I'm like, come on, you should know what a gaffer
A lot of
is,
people are
or,
like, the person that holds the sound pole.
Right, I know, and like little things like that. Yeah, because we are, as actors, I think we audition and we get so excited to go to set, and we can a lot of the time think it's like all about us, but really like half the time nobody's paying attention to you. Like we sit in the waiting room for most of the day because they're all setting up and doing their own things. Like there are so many moving parts. We truly are such a small part of it. Like,
my favorite thing was I did this commercial and they had like a rehearsal day, and I swear to God, they called there were 4 of us. They called one of us, and the rest of us literally did not do any, like, they just didn't have time because they were pre-lighting and pre-dressing. There was all this kinds of stuff. We're leaving, and, you know, I'm walking to the parking lot, and this just random guy, I think he was, like, probably Grip or AC, he's like, great job today. Just like, we didn't see each other once, and you know that, you know.
Yeah.
It's very much, everyone's got their own mission, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
Everyone's on their own side quest, so.
Yeah. You're more understanding as an actor, too, when you've done the crew side of things, and you understand it, because some actors would get frustrated by that. Like, oh my God, I've been here all day, and I was just waiting around. But I feel like when you've been on the other side and you understand, like, just how much all of that stuff is, the lighting and the setting up and the marks, and it always takes so much longer than you think it's going to take.
Oh, yeah. Well, and on the flip side, it also, and this is really important, I think, when you're starting out, is... And you can, if you book a lot and get on a lot of sets as an actor, you'll get this vibe check anyway. But for me, it was like, I want to be on as many sets as possible. And then what starts to happen is you realize that you'll get on some things where you know more than they do. And you can pretty quickly tell when things are going south.
Absolutely.
And this happens. Yeah. You'll be on things where you're like, okay, I just got to finish the day, but this is never seeing the light of day.
Commercials.
Yeah, I mean, or even just little short, because I'll do, like, that's why I do the other stuff, is because I will take stuff as an actor just because I want to do it, you know, and then you get on set and you're like, oh no, this isn't, oh no, they're just, this, you know, a lot of times it's with sound, it's like, whatever setup they have, it's like, they're not going to be able to use this, you know, it's, you know, and so it's kind of good as a protection measure, too, of, you know, and you can learn this stuff acting. It's just experience, like with anything. But it's, you know, it's kind of good to know how the pieces get put together, because sometimes it's so non-linear with film.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, Ian, do you hear that?
Yes.
It's time for Mixed Feelings Minute. So we are going to be chatting about a controversial acting topic in this Mixed Feelings Minute: self-submission. Ian, what are your thoughts? Yay or nay?
Yay.
Okay, that was a quick answer. Yeah, you're pro self-submission. Elaborate.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Why not?
Look, hey, Carrie, Lee, Tracy, Luli, you're the best. I love my team. They're amazing. But one, it's good to kind of have your, at least if you're in the indie scene like I am, I like to have my finger on the pulse a little bit of what's going on.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm a gambling addict. I think that's what I am. And auditions are my gamble.
Yeah,
and
shoot your shot.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I love auditioning. Like, to be perfectly honest, I've done 3,000 self-tapes since I've moved to LA. Like, I love it. Yeah. Love it. And I feel like it's like going to the gym. I mean, it's like something you've just got to keep that muscle going. Yep. Also, you're going to pitch yourself for things that your reps might have someone else on their roster they go for, and then they might pick you. That literally just happened. The thing I was on wires for, one of my reps submitted another client and not me, and then I got the gig. And that feels good.
Oh, yeah.
That's something I'll be writing for today. That's why I'm in such a good mood today. But yeah, I think the way the market is right now, especially if you're starting out, and pretty much everyone I meet on set that's getting the roles
is self-submitting.
You ask them and they,
agree,
yeah, it's just you've got to do it. If you want to make it something that you're doing constantly be submitted. I mean, and the only way to assure that is be the one doing it. I think you're your own best advocate. Not that, I mean, and look, you can take time to step back, and you know, everyone's relationship with their team is different. But you know, I think even people like that guy. Well, I shouldn't say names, but I know someone that like has, you know, pretty up there reps, and because of the strike and things, you know, they're like, I'm looking for stuff I can just do because I'm crawling up the walls. So yeah, I love it. I love self-taping. I love self-submitting. Because you can really pitch yourself best, you know.
Yes, I always say that nobody's gonna fight harder for you than you fight for yourself.
Yeah.
Number one, and also number two, nobody knows you as well as you know yourself. So your agent might even see a breakdown and just like pitch you. But if the breakdown is like unicycler, blonde unicycler, well, Mr. Ian over here knows he unicycles, but maybe his agent doesn't necessarily know he unicycles, so you can be like, I'm perfect for this role because I unicycle. Like, you know yourself better than others know you, and so you can really pitch yourself for roles. So I totally agree. I think self-submitting, and I also agree most of the time when I meet people on set, it's because they self-submit. You can be open with your agents about it too, because I know some agents are like, you absolutely can't self-submit. So if you're an actor looking to get an agent,
drop them if they're like that. I mean,
well,
seriously,
just be open
though,
with them. Be like, at the very least, what I've told my
if you're a development
agents,
client, but you're probably, if you're watching this,
right? Exactly. I know. At the very least, I've told my agents, like, I'm gonna self-submit, and if you have a problem with that, like, I'll give you a cut of it. Like, I'm gonna do it, and I'll give you a cut, but I'm gonna do it. We lack so much control in this business. Whatever little bit of control I can take, I'm gonna take it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, especially if you haven't been on TV or a movie or something, they want you to get more credits. They want you to meet people.
Helps everybody.
It's literally, I mean, your reps technically work for you, and it's best for your business to be working more.
Exactly.
And yeah, I think to me it's a no-brainer. The people, I mean, like, look, there are things on self-submissions you should avoid. But one, how are you ever going to get the experience unless you try? I mean, you know. Yeah. Showbiz.
No, it's true. And the more you're on set, the more people you meet. And again, in LA, one thing leads to another. So on this non-union commercial, you might meet this gaffer who's then on a feature film set, and they're looking to fill a blonde guy role last minute. And this gaffer's like, oh, randomly, I know my friend Ian. And then somehow they bring Ian onto the set. Like, one thing really does lead to another.
Oh, and
the more people that know you, the better in the film world. Even random people.
And people get sick and drop out, and you just want to be a name people reach for super easily. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've, like, been asked by a direct, like, I'm going home on day one, coming back for day two, and they're like, hey, do you know anyone that fits the character, blah, blah, blah?
Me too.
We just have blah, blah, blah drop out, and, you know, and it's like, look, if you didn't get a role, like, sometimes it's because the producer lost a poker game and they got to put someone's daughter in it, or, you know, someone's brother.
Yeah.
It's you know, it's so many factors, and just being in as many places as possible, I think is the only thing you can control.
Take me through, I know this is a weird question for us actors, but a typical day in your life, if you could say one. Wow. And we could do maybe a typical day if you're going to set, and then maybe a typical day if you're not.
If I'm not going to set, you usually wake up. I've lately, in school, I was like 6 a.m., gym, you know, go be at bed by 9 p.m. or 11 p.m. because of school would go late. But, like, I'd try to get to bed and wake up as early as possible. I was one of those. These days, I still wake up pretty early, but I have, like, slow mornings. Because I'm someone where I have a terrible work-life balance, but I will stop responding to emails after, like, 7 or 8. I try to, at least. And so in the morning, I'll, like, catch up. I don't know, are you someone that, like, your phone is, like, just covered in notifications when you wake up?
Yes, which is crazy in this business, but it's like, I've been casting, I'll get calls from casting, sometimes at, like, 10 p.m.
I know, it's crazy.
There's no work or life balance.
So I kind of love, I love coffee. Like, you know, sitting there, drinking coffee. Then I'll go to the gym, and then probably self-tape. Do whatever else I have to do. Usually, like, Zoom meetings are a constant thing. You know, stuff for gigs coming up. If I have the day job that day, then maybe I'll go into that. But usually it's, you know, I'm very in a weird place where, did you know, starting tomorrow, I am on set every single day until October 3rd, except for 2 days.
I'm so glad we're recording this podcast.
Yeah,
right now,
well, that's why I was like, I can do it this day. Because it's, I'm very lucky.
For your own project or something else?
No, I'm DPing a short, then I'm acting in a short, then I start gaffing a feature, and then on one of the breaks of that, I'm acting in a short, and then after the feature, I'm acting in another short, and then we'll see what happens after
No
that.
real updates, no acting classes for Ian.
Yeah, it'll be a sec
that's
before the
awesome,
reels
yeah.
get chopped down.
It's gonna be crazy, but so fun. That's why you have to love this business and love what you do, otherwise you'll die.
Yeah,
But
and
since
I'm sure
you
I
love
will
it-
be sitting on my butt for a while after this and being like, I'll never work again. And then, the cycle, it's
It is.
ebbs and
That's-
flows.
Exactly, that's this business.
But yeah, it's crazy. So that's, and then on set, it depends on the call time. Like,
does,
those 11 a.m. call times where I can like
so
wake
nice.
up,
You can go to
maybe
the gym
squeeze a
before.
self-tape in.
Right?
I mean,
know.
big tip, Ian's tips. Make a song,
Yeah,
make a
yeah.
banner, please.
All right.
Have a frictionless setup, self-tape setup. Have that thing set up. So I can't tell you how many commercials I've done rolling out of bed because they're just a slate. I'll just roll.
Yes,
I know
same.
girls, you guys have to do makeup. I'm so sorry.
See,
We have it-
sometimes I don't, and
Great.
sometimes I book.
Great. I'm so, because it really, you
yeah.
shouldn't have to, but look,
is what it is.
it is what it is, and just being able to just do the bare minimum
Yep.
and just get it out there and just do as many as possible. It's a numbers game.
That is such a good point because some actors get so like worked up and make such a big thing out of every little self-tape. Like, I don't know, I just hear actors like, oh my god, I have to do this self-tape. And if it's just a slate, like, don't make it weird, don't overthink it,
Yeah.
just do it. Just get into action and do it. Like, it shouldn't take you that long.
Yeah.
Set a 10-minute timer. Sometimes when you, because otherwise you'll just get too in your head. And
Absolutely.
that's how you're able to...
Yeah, and try to take back some of your time and control of your day.
Exactly, yeah.
If it's a big thing and it's a part that you really have ideas about,
Yeah,
do
do it.
whatever everyone has different processes, but I'd say like something that I've been told and noticed is the earlier you get it in, the better. I can't tell you how many things
Absolutely.
I have booked, and I'll go back because I've started checking this recently, where I'll book something and I'll look, and we're within the audition deadline, where people could still submit a day later, and I've already booked the job. That happens with a really big casting director, or not really big, but someone that casts a lot of stuff that are good jobs. That just happened, and I was like, whoa.
I've had casting directors tell me that the reason I got the role sometimes was because I was early.
They
and
just
I
wanna
happened to be what they wanted. Yeah, they're like, oh, we found this girl. She's perfect for it. We're going to book her. We're not even going to look at anybody else.
Just want to fix the problem.
So, yeah.
The problem is we don't have an
Yeah.
actor for the role. If they find someone, they're going to do it. But yeah. And then, if it's a set day, anything goes. I'll usually try to squeeze in some kind of workout, and then, I have just a my set go bag at all times, and
You do
and
the
then
thing.
see what the day brings. Yeah. I'm not someone that's like, I meet actors that are like, I don't eat when I'm on set. I don't blah. Because to be honest, it's like, when it gets frequent enough, it's like, it's going to work.
Yeah.
It's going to work.
It's true, yep.
Just like, love that you're there. I just try to love every minute of it, and, I try not to be like precious in a bad way or in a
too.
like obsessive way.
You're right. It is just a day
just
of work. And
grateful,
The more you do it,
yeah.
Yeah, the more you do it, the more it becomes like that. Which is good, especially if you want a long-term career in this business and you want to get to a certain place in your career, you have to be like that. Because if you treat every day like it's so precious, it's going to...
What
gonna be too much.
I'm just thinking, because we're talking like this.
Mm-hmm.
I do work a lot. I promise people, but my credit, like, I've been in a couple Lifetime movies, but still working on the TV thing. But when people ask, what have you been in? What do you say? So, and it's like, we get this question so much. I should have an answer ready. I still don't.
I'm the
I
same
st-
way.
I
Ian.
start-
I
I'm
know.
just like-
You're
sometimes-
right. That's even earlier. I had to ask Ian. I was like, "Can you give me some like credits?" And he's like, "Give me a few minutes." And he did come up with this beautiful pitch for himself. But it's like so
It's so
awkward to do
stressful.
when you're at a certain place in your career.
I feel very blessed and grateful, and
too.
like I'm in a place where it kind of feels like things are happening, and
Yeah, it's
I
just
get to
slow.
do what I love. But when non-industry people like say that, it's like, well, nothing you've seen.
I know, exactly. Yeah.
Do you watch a lot of
Basically.
short films
I
and commercials?
I know.
You know.
It's funny you can be a working actor and be on set all the time and it's still
Yeah,
like that. You
it
know?
doesn't-
It's just funny. It's one of those things you don't think about when you do
No.
this business, I feel like.
Yeah.
Is that like you can be a working actor but not be doing crazy big things. Like you can make a substantial amount and do this as a career and still not be.
My first day at Cal Arts, our speech teacher Damien, he went to Juilliard, and he made this point I'll never forget this very first day of CalArts where he showed the group photo, because at Juilliard they're not classes, they're groups, of all the people, including him in his drama class. And he was like, look at all these people. This was group 20 whatever at Juilliard. Do any of you recognize any of these people? One person's like, no one recognizes anyone. And he's like, you don't recognize any of these people, but all of these people are making their living acting. I cannot guarantee you fame, but I can guarantee you that you will be like all of these people. And it's like, that's, look, especially now with social media and everything, I don't even want to depend on this, but like, to me, it's like, it's just working. But that question, every time you get it, it stings.
It does.
It's just like,
and you're right. We should have a. I know. I'm like triggers.
I almost want to go through my camera roll. Do you see what I'm doing every day? You know?
And it's so well intentioned and stuff too. But I know I'm always like.
Because what are they not gonna? I mean, they're gonna say it, but it's just it's very funny. That's why I try to only interface with actors.
No, right. I know. Because in LA though they get it. It's so funny being here, but I know when I go back to Michigan and people are like, "What have you been in?" I'm like.
Yeah.
Nothing you've seen. Okay, we are coming to our end here. I have one more question before our frisky 5 for you.
Oh, okay.
And that is, what are some things that you do to stay sane in this crazy business? Like, what are some things you do for your mental health or for yourself that you feel like help you to be a well-rounded person despite the craziness of this business? I know you mentioned working out. Is that something that
that's just to keep my agents. No, I'm joking.
Right.
I'm joking.
Doing to look good.
Still book commercials. No, but also like unfortunately that's the state of the
ditto.
State of affairs. That's a great question. To me like the honest answer is like working as much as possible. I love being on set, and I'm in a stage right now where I am having a reckoning of like trying to figure out how I can have a better work-life balance, but I do go crazy when I'm doing nothing. I mean, literally, like I will just start like making something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I have 5 free seconds, and all of a sudden exactly.
And it's a common thread. I was talking to the director I'm working with, and he was like, do you ever just like go on walks, man? And I'm like, I should, but like. No, I like what I do. I try to, watch stuff I love. I go to the movie theater, as cliche as the sound is, like temple. I love going to the movies. I love going to the movies. And sometimes you get a break, and when you get that break and like, go on a date night or something and like do something like that, like you get to play hooky and that feels really good. Yeah. But no, I mean, chocolate, big vice. Love some chocolate. I'm a bit of a square, to be honest. I don't drink and I don't go out, which, because my days are long enough. You know,
exactly.
I just was never into that. I'm trying to think of, but yeah, I mean, working out, and eating healthy and all that stuff is like, any therapist will tell you it's the big 3, and getting enough sleep, like that stuff is so important to me. And then I think the only other thing I'll add is like really, I'm very into goals, call it manifesting, I kind of fluctuate with how I approach it and what I perceive it as, but I think the simplest and most uniform thing it is just like goal setting, and just really have something, in the back of your mind or the front of your mind that you're kind of working towards. And that kind of helps you when you're like, what is this all for? You kind of have something, and you can kind of track your progress a little bit. I don't know.
So I'm curious, how do you set goals then in this business when it's kind of hard to track that? Because you can't be like, I'm going to set the goal to book a Netflix series, but like you don't have control over that. So I'm curious, how do you go about setting your goals, or what would be an example?
I've heard very good advice on this from a guy named Hans Christian, but I'm going to butcher it. I would say giving yourself like time period goal, like a 20-year, a 10-year, a 5-year, and then like a week or a monthly, so and making sure those are super achievable. Yeah. Like, you can do this.
We got 5 days this week.
Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, and the other thing is I really I was talking to a friend about this, really trying to shift your mindset away from the day-to-day and like look at all your habits in your life in a weekly chunk, because I find I'm much more forgiving to myself that way. If there's like really something I'm trying, it's like, it's like the 5 days a week or whatever. I don't know, but I feel like you know, I try to be very realistic with myself, and the conversations I have up here I'm in a good place, I guess, where,
Yeah.
you know, I watch a lot of my tapes, when I'm a crazy psycho with IMDb Pro. I track stuff, and also I know now a lot of the actors that, get the same roles as I do and will get those roles instead of me. And like recently, an actor I really respect got a role that I didn't, and I remember I got a callback for it, but that was as far as it went. And I watched my tape for it, and I was like, I mean, this isn't horrible, but I know he did better, and I can totally see why. And I was like, okay, so go, you know, it's a constant, like, you know, let's make this better, and you know, what can we do differently? And I think maybe that's why I have trouble like watching myself. It's like, you know, every time I always just, you know, you're everyone says this stuff, but like, you know, you're just trying to be better than yourself. And, but I think, you know, there's a reason why everyone talks about it.
If you have a piece of advice for young Ian, just moving to LA, about to start his acting career, what would it be?
You don't have to be one thing. You really don't.
Oh, I love that.
Little story.
Yeah,
Can I tell a little story? I got typed in school. That's where, like, you go around the room and people tell you what characters you play.
Every acting class.
I cried. I literally, I like sobbed and was upset for weeks after that happened. And I had friends in that class, and they were kind of joking, but I took it so personally because it was a lot of like things that I was like, really, guys, you think, you know, like, I don't know. And for a while I was awkward at parties. I was like, wow, this is how the whole world views me. And then going to casting things, I was like, oh my God, I just look like this to people on first glance. That's how they view me. And I've kind of come to terms with that a little bit of like, you know, I can do that, but I can do other stuff too. And luckily, my favorite collaborators and all the people I've met and love, I'm getting to do a lot of stuff, you know, because if you just want it and work at it, you know, some of those opportunities hopefully, you know, just open themselves up.
All right, we're going to close out with our
Fast
Frisky
Five.
Five.
Do it.
So you have 1 minute to answer these 5 questions. Just rapid fire, first thing that comes to your mind. Number 1, your favorite quote.
The job of the artist, the role of the artist, I'm butchering this, cut all this out. The role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible.
Okay, I like that. Number 2, your favorite line from a film.
I drink your milkshake! From There Will Be Blood. That's pretty good.
Love it. Number 3, a secret LA spot that you feel like not many people know about, or like a recommendation, just something in LA, a fun place, restaurant.
I got 2. Sorry,
Okay,
I got 2. Yamiyaki on, it's in Silver Lake. It's amazing. The woman that runs it is the best. Mom and pop, Japanese food. Serve yourself, pay by weight. So good. They have sushi too, but they have other stuff. It's so good. And then Sincerely Syria, formerly Hollywood Shawarma. Sorry, vegetarians, but oh my God, it's on Hollywood Boulevard. It's the best late night spot. I'm a big shawarma guy. I love it.
Okay, noted. Ian was looking a little tired, but now we got him talking about food. He's all hype. I love it. All right. 4, a recent obsession. Anything like, I don't know, food related, drink related, product related, clothing item, anything.
I will say I've been watching this show on Max, Righteous Gemstones, with Danny McBride.
Okay.
Let's just say that show is so good, and I've been diving into all of his work, and that whole team, Jody and everything. It's amazing. Highly recommend.
Love it. And then question number 5. This one's really deep. Pickles, yay or nay?
Yay.
Okay, love. People just have really strong feelings about pickles, so I always like to ask that question. I feel
love
like you either
pickles.
hate them or you love them.
I love pickles. I love
He loves them. All right. Ian, we are wrapping up. Is there anything else that you want to plug for the audience? I know you mentioned your short film.
Oh, go check out Murder Camp if it's near you. Murder Camp's I love the people that made it. It's just it's one of those things that I'm so happy it exists. It's so much fun. It gets programmed in the horror block a lot. It's not really a horror film. Kind of is, kind of isn't. But I did go to that festival, and watching it was like one of the best experiences of my life because it did murder. It's just everyone in it is so funny. So
okay, we'll link that below. And then do you want to shout out your socials, website?
On Instagram, ian.s.peterson.
We'll pop it in the show notes.
Yes, check out the show notes.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ian.
Thank you.
Any last words for the Acting Like an Actor podcast?
Bye. Stay frosty.
Stay frosty, my friends. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next week on Acting Like an Actor. Bye, guys.